please, ladies and gents. What I'm going to do is, while talking to you, I'm about to take my radio and put it back on music. The last time I played this, I thought the music was playing in the background and I thought you all could hear it. I'll find a program that works with cell phones that records the phone audio and what's playing in the background on what I'm saying. What's going on is right now in the background, yeah, I figured, you know what, I just realized that I put a video up and most of you have gotten to hear it by now. It was an audio and it was me talking about how I personally felt about certain things and what people were saying. And that may have caught some people off guard. It may have offended people, and I don't care, because for the last couple of years of my life, I've had people trying to control me, trying to tell me where to go, when to wake up, when to lay down, when to eat, when to sleep, when to walk, when not to walk, where to walk, where not to walk. And I had to challenge that stupidity. Now, many times I consented, I allowed it, I permitted it, I would just sit up there and let it go. But enough. I'm tired of letting it go. I'm tired of not holding on the essentials of being a man. Let me explain so that I think everybody could understand. There are certain qualities that are intricate to men. No, not all men are men. All of you know this. Not all men are men. Not all men act like men. That is why the society treats everybody as if they are infants. Because many men act infantile. They have no morals. They have no stature. People say, well, you have no morals. Look at what you did in your past. You know what? You're absolutely right. There was a time in my past where I simply didn't care. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the time not to give you an excuse, but to give you an understanding so that you can better appreciate who I was and who I am. 1989, December 4th, 6 a.m., I'm at the hospital. I'm showing up for an operation. I am going there to have my wandering eye corrected. It's a simple 2-hour surgery, and I'm supposed to be home before 3 o'clock. So I even tell my sister, I said, hey, they're going to have my eyes dilated, I won't be able to drive, so can you come pick me up? She says, okay. I say, hey, doc, what about the anesthesia? Weren't you supposed to run the blood test? Oh, yeah, we didn't have enough time, but we used this with everybody, and so you don't have to worry. Trust me. Okay, you're the doctor. That's when I was naive. That's when I took people at their word. Next thing you know, I'm waking up from a coma a couple of days later, suffering a massive heart attack and a massive stroke. That's right, a massive heart attack and a massive stroke at the age of 20. And then to spend the next 3.5 months in the hospital. They didn't release me from the hospital. I got up and I walked out. I told them I was leaving. And I kept hearing people saying the doctor didn't release you. And I looked at them like they were crazy. I don't care what he didn't do. I said I'm leaving. You see, at that point, I had a morbid fear of hospitals because they did that to me. So, I'm going to tell you like I told everybody else. I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was on purpose. It's not just my imagination. I believe it was on purpose. And I don't think it happened the way they wanted it to occur. You see, they did call my family after I had lied there for 18 minutes and tell them that they needed to come and claim the body because I was gone. 18 minutes, no vitals, no pulse. They speak about a lack of oxygen, but see, I was in a hospital, so there wasn't really a lack of oxygen problem because you know they were doing CPR. But then they were afraid to do CPR. I wasn't there. I was not there. All I can tell you is they didn't bring me back. They will tell you to this very day that they didn't bring me back. They have no idea of how I ended up with the heartbeat again. I'm supposed to be a vegetable. 18 minutes, no oxygen, and a body temperature of 126. They can't explain it to this day. My body temperature stayed above 118 for over 3 weeks, people.
But I thought 110, it's irreversible to brain damage.
Exactly. There is something unique about this man. Look, I'm not patting myself on the back. You people should know me by now. If I'm good at something, I'll let you know I'm good at it. But I can't take credit for that. I can't take credit for what makes me different from quite a few people. Don't worry about it. I notice it and everybody else notices it. So we might as well just speak truth. I know. Most people don't talk like this. Well, that's okay. I'm not most people. You see, I have to live this life. I have to live this life of me being so different from everybody else that I am alone. I am surrounded by people and I'm alone. Then I have people who want to be my friend. I try to tell them, you can't be my friend. You can't. You see, you can't choose me as a friend, nor can you come to me and ask me if you could be my friend, because it doesn't work that way. The people I choose to be my friend usually tend to be those who don't really care in the first place, which is why I have no... Well, let me explain a little bit further so you get the understanding. In 1990, March of 1990, I was released from the hospital. Well, I say I was released, I left the hospital. And in March of 1990, right after I left the hospital, I go to my best friend Kevin's house. Now Kevin here is younger than me, and I said I wasn't going on 20 because that was December. Well, the situation with Kevin is that young man was my best friend. And I called Kevin, I said, look, how come you didn't come visit me? It was almost 4 months and couldn't call. He didn't visit. What I didn't know is that Kevin had himself been in a hospital and had suffered a heart attack. I believe it may have been a congenital disease. Kevin's father had passed away about 3 years before that. When Kevin first met me, he met me through a mutual friend, and his father and family invited me over for dinner. And I'm sitting there and his father's asking me questions about me and about, they were Jehovah's Witnesses, so they had to get to know me. They didn't know much about me because they had just met me, and Kevin had just met me at the time. I had known him for about a year. And when he invites me over to the house and I'm eating dinner and the father's asking me questions, I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time, I'm talking. What I didn't know, after Kevin's father died, Kevin told me, he says after they had that meal, his father told him that he needed to stay close to me. That he needed to stay close to me because I would be good for him. What his father had known is that later Kevin and I would definitely become best friends. And on May 10th, March, it was May, I keep saying March, but it was May, that May 10th, 1990, I had just gotten out of the hospital. First thing I do is I call Kevin, and he tells me that he wanted to come visit me. He knew I was in the hospital, and he knew I'd been pretty sick, but his mother wouldn't let him. And I couldn't understand it. I'm like, why would this woman not let her son come and visit his friend in the hospital? Because she didn't like me. You know, I don't know why the woman didn't like me. I never did anything wrong to her. But when I get out of the hospital, the first thing I do is I call him. He tells me that she wouldn't let him come and visit me. So I said, all right, I'm coming over. I said, ask your mother. I said, all right. She said, okay. So I go over. And he and I sit and we talk for a couple of minutes. I said, look, I'm going to go play basketball. You want to go? Man, you can't go play basketball. You just got out of the hospital. I said, man, I'm going to go play basketball. Now, I was in a ton of pain. I had just suffered kidney damage with my kidney having blood clots everywhere. And liver damage with my blood clots all throughout my liver. I had been filled with so much Coumadin, and I keep saying 3.5 months. I got out of the hospital in May. I keep thinking it was March because it's an experience that I want to forget as much as possible. So I spent, now that I think about it, almost 6 months in the hospital. And this is the first time I've actually had to think about it. But I'm the guy who was in a hospital. At that time they had Sega! Anyway, I had my Sega Genesis sitting up there, had VCR, because they didn't have DVD players at the time. So I had my VCR, my Sega Genesis, and I had my own room. Because I worked for Domino's Pizza as a manager, and I had pretty good insurance. And so they took care of me. But I told everybody, of course they're going to take care of me, because they were worried about the lawsuit that they were going to have on their hands. Yep, couldn't find an attorney to sue anybody. Well, let me get on back to the story so that you all can understand and you can know what's going on. May 10th, I say, Kevin, I'm going to go play basketball. He says, well, let me ask my mother if I can go. So he goes and he asks her, and he comes back and he says, well, she says, I can only go if you take my 2 sisters with us. I said, sure, those are my sisters too, let's go. She thought I was going to say no because I wouldn't want, I won't say their names because those are my sisters, and there's no reason for me to bring them into the middle of any conversation. But let's just say B and S, okay? And I don't mean B and S with the bad term, I mean B and S as in the first initials. These 2 beautiful young women came with us. Now, they were younger. One was 15 and the other one was 13. And he was 17 at the time. And I was 19 going on 20. And he goes on the basketball court, and it's a double park. So one side is the basketball courts and handball, and across the street is another side of the park, which is with the swings and the sets and all that stuff. So what we did, swing sets. Anyway, is I gave the 2 girls money to go to the ice cream truck and buy whatever they wanted. Didn't care. I think I gave them like $10 a piece or something. And he played basketball. He wasn't the greatest basketball player on the planet, and I'll say it. He wouldn't be offended. He would actually laugh. But he wasn't the greatest basketball player. But you want to know something? I enjoyed watching that young man out there playing basketball because he was actually having fun, laughing and having a good time. And I enjoyed that. Well, later that night I took him to the movies. Right after we left the basketball courts, I took him to the movies, treated him to something to eat, and the girls went and watched a G-rated film on their own, and he and I went and watched Leviathan. It was Leviathan. It wasn't The Abyss, but it was Leviathan. Whichever one was out that year. It was either Leviathan or The Abyss. I can't remember. I wasn't too impressed with it. I just went to watch it because it was a new film. That was what I did back then. I would take everybody to the movies, and I would pay the monies out of my pocket. Well, what I did is he and I and the 2 girls, after the movies were over, I took them home. The mother, by this time, she has they're not newlyweds, but they're engaged. And they say, she and her husband, that they're going to go and take the girls, and they're going to go out to dinner. And Kevin says, well, I'm going to stay here. And they call me Keith. He says, I'm going to stay here with Keith and we're going to talk. And they said, no problem. He and I sat there and we talked about everything. We talked about me being in a hospital. We talked about him having a heart attack. We talked about our girlfriends. We talked about the fact that he had just gotten a scholarship to go to MIT. And I say, well, that does it. That takes care of it. I'm going to MIT too. He says, man, how are you going to get to MIT? It's expensive. I said, look, sir, I can get into any school I want to. I won't have a problem taking some stupid entrance exam. He says, all right. So we were planning on both of us being at the same school, supporting and making sure we stayed on course. We made a plan. We were going to survive all of this stupidity. And we were going to be there when everything changed. We made a vow to each other that night. His mother and sisters come back, and her fiance, well, they're not even fiance, like I said, they are engaged. So they come back, and it's 9 o'clock. Now, this is a school night, it's a Sunday night, and Kevin says, look, man, I'm asking my mom if I can go over to your house and we can finish talking. I said, man, are you kidding? You know she ain't gonna let you go anywhere with me on a school night. You know better than that. He says, man, don't worry about it, I can handle this. So he goes and she says, yes. And I'm looking at him like, no, you're crazy. There's no way in the world she's gonna... Look, trust me, the woman not on this planet would she ever let that man go anywhere with me on a school night. It never would happen. But she said yes. He was her only son. And Kevin was he was not a child. He didn't cause any problems. He didn't get in any trouble at school, didn't get into any fights. Kev was an alright young man. And so he was an honest young man. So she did that because she knew that he would be taken care of. She knew I would never let anything happen to him. Nor would I bring him or put him in a situation where something bad would happen to him. Kevin goes over to my house and I talk for 3 straight hours. I said, man, it's after 12 o'clock. I gotta get you home. He says, man, look, don't worry about it. All right, let's go. And we just talked. And so I'm driving him home and I'm on the freeway and I'm like, man, I'm going to keep the speed limit, but man, I got to get you home. And it's just a freeway shot. I get on the freeway and I hang a left and I drive 2 miles and he's home. He says, man, can you stop at, what is the name of the school? He asked me if I could stop at McDonald's. I said, Kevin, I spent all my money on you guys today. I spent over $60 that day. And I didn't tell him how much I spent. I just said I spent all of my money on you guys today. I don't have any more money. He says, he looked at me and he says, man, I got money. I got this. He says, I got you. And I looked at him and he said to me, what's wrong? He saw tears coming out of my eyes. And I said, this is the first time anybody's ever done something for me because they wanted to. And he says, man, don't worry about it. I got you. And earlier that evening, I had told him, I said, you know you're my best friend, right? He says, man, you know you're my best friend. And so that's when we made our little pact. And I'm like, all right, look, man, your mom's is going to kill me. I got to get you. And our last words that night was, all right, be there. And he goes inside. And you talk about the happiest day of my life? Man, I'm on cloud 9. I thought he didn't care. He didn't come to the hospital. He didn't visit me, only to find out that it wasn't his fault, that he did care. Well, the next day at 3 o'clock, I'm over at my friend's house. I said, look, man, I'm going to go over to Kev, and he and I are going to finish talking from what we talked about last night. He says, all right. I said, I'm going to give him a call. So I called his house, and his aunt answers the phone. And she tells me, she says, Kevin expired today. I said, okay, can you tell him Keith called? And I said goodbye. And I hung up. And my friend says, "What's wrong?" I said, something. She said he expired today. He said, "He what?" I said, "She said he expired today." And then I started to put the pieces together, started to think about milk expiring. And then in the Bible, there's a verse where it speaks about Jesus expiring. And I told him, I said, "Man, I gotta go." He's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Man, something ain't right. Something's wrong. I gotta go." I get in my car and I'm doing from his house, from my friend's house to his house is about 1.5 miles. And I'm doing 65 miles an hour on city streets. I go from one light to the next and not one of them was red. I get to his house, I'm pulling up on the opposite side of the street and leaving my tire tracks. And I get out of the car and I leave the door open and I see his cousin and I'm like, "D, where's my boy?" He said, "Man, come here, Keith, let me talk to you." I said, "Man, where's my boy?" And he says, "Man, I gotta talk to you." "Man, where is my boy?" And I'm actually getting angry. And he says, "Kevin was in an accident today and he died." And all I can tell you is I've never gotten past that or over that. And nothing has ever been the same since. So I went through a spell of 10 years of not caring about anything. Not caring about nothing. And when I say not caring about nothing, not caring about sex, not caring about getting hurt, not caring about dying, not caring about nothing. I wasn't out there taking chances, I wasn't out there pulling guns, I wasn't out there doing drugs. Because I wasn't into none of that stupid stuff. But I simply didn't care. I didn't care about consequences, didn't care about nothing. That man told me the night before he died that that was the best day of his life. And he dies the next day. It's funny, because my father died 1984, July 4th. No, he died July 5th. But he and I and the rest of my brothers and sisters were together July 4th at a Jehovah's Witnesses convention at Dodger Stadium. The unique thing about it was I had not been around my father for over 7 months. Yeah, because I said, ain't no way in the world my father could be anywhere near have found the true religion. Ain't no way in the world. He's not smart enough for that, is what I said. So I spent 7 months, my entire 9th grade year, doing research on religion and on the Bible. I had already had a basic understanding of Scripture. I could sit up there and hold my own at the age of 15 with anybody with the Bible. You brought up a point, I could sit up there and, sorry, the Bible says this here, and it says it again here. Oh, wait, it says it again here. So, no, that's not what it says. And so I was asking everybody about their religion and what they believed in. And I saw a lot of people believed in things just because. Not because the Bible said it, but because that's what they've been told. That's what they saw on TV. That's what the so-called tradition is. And after 7 months, I learned one thing. Now, everybody talks about Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's okay. They're the butt of a lot of jokes. They say they're too strict, they're this, they're that. You guys can say all you want about Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm going to tell you the one thing about them that I know. That every point that they talk about, they can show you in the Bible where they're getting it from. But it's not just they can show you once, they can show you twice, they can show you 3 times from the Bible. Because they do something that very few people do. They study the Bible for what it says. They don't make up things. Now, there have been some things that they have understood the wrong way. Even though the Scripture said what it said, they misunderstood it. Now, what were some of those things? I don't know, because I can't recall them. None of them were major. None of them was anything that where I said, see, you fools were wrong. No, what I can say is my decision at the age of 15 was my father was right. And so what I did is I made a choice, May 4th, 1984. Go with them for the first time in 9 months to a meeting involving Jehovah's Witnesses. They didn't know that every weekend I was, and like the other kids are out there playing basketball at nutrition and talking and having a good time and doing whatever they do at nutrition. No, I'm in the library at the school. I am in the encyclopedias going over religion and going over holidays and going over Easter. And Easter is the biggest joke out of all the holidays there is. It's amazing. Well, I say all of that just to say that July 4th, 1984, my father said that that was the best day of his life. Not because he and I spent some time together, but because he knew that I made the decision on my own. Not because of him, not because of influence, but because I made the choice. You see, even my parents knew, they've always known, that if I say no, it means no. You can beat me, you can hit me, you can do whatever. You can pull out fingernails, you can break fingers, break legs, I don't care. Once I say no, it means no. And I'm just too stubborn. So you can do all the little techniques you want and it ain't gonna work. You can cause all the pain you want. Look, people, I survived in a hospital with blood clots all throughout my body. Brain, heart, liver, lungs, stomach, blood clots everywhere. Because of the high temperature caused the blood to boil. So if you can only imagine what kidney stones feel like. I know some of you have been through it, right? That's kidney stones. Now try blood clots in your kidneys. Try blood clots in your liver. And try no pain medication. No pain medication. Those people gave me a stupid Tylenol. One stupid Tylenol a day is what I received. So when people think that they can put me through pain or they can put me through a situation, they think that they're causing me discomfort. They have no clue as to what my pain tolerance is. I have been through too much pain to be concerned about the pain that I'm in every day. I go through pain every day, people. I have headaches every day because of that stupid operation. I have kidney pain every day because of the stupid operation. You have no idea what I go through on a daily basis. Everybody's telling me, but Brett, you're going to be okay. We're way past all that encouragement stuff. We're way past all that keep yourself in good spirits stuff. We're so far past that. People, it's been way too many years. That was 1989 that the operation happened. Now let's do the math. Okay? Let's do the math. 1989 till the present day. Interesting, ain't it? That's how many years it's been that I've been going through this. It's just what I go through. And it's just what I'll keep going through. And I'm okay with it. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing that they can give me. There is nothing that they can provide. It's just what I go through. And that's fine. Because for some of the things that I've done, that's what I get. I deserve that. That's what I say to myself. Alright, why this conversation with you guys right now? Because there are people out there who think they know me, and they don't. There are people out there who think that they could be my friend, and you can't. You see, Kevin was my best friend. It just so happens that he introduced me to his next door neighbor. And roughly about 5 years after he died, his next door neighbor and I started to hang out. Now his next door neighbor is, let's see, I am 47, he's, oh, really, I'm 11 years older than him. But he and I became very good friends. And because I tried too hard to make his life perfect, it backfired because somebody did him wrong, somebody who I introduced him to, and the person did him very, very wrong, and I was helpless. I was quite literally helpless to correct what the person had done, but I gave him my word. Yeah, he was helping somebody with their credit. They were trying to improve their credit. They were going to repair it, and they were going to take their house and put it in his name. Now, this wasn't a gimmick or anything. This person was a real estate realtor. So she was a broker and a realtor at the same time. And she would sell and buy houses left and right with no problem. So he allowed her to put her house in his name. She was not a stranger to us. She knew my brother, but she made 4 payments on a $480,000 loan. Why would you do something like that? Because we knew the person, and this is what we did for each other. This wasn't the first time something like that had happened. Well, I did give him my word that I would correct it, that I would make everything back the way it was. It took me 2 years, but as you saw the video, how I paid off my mortgage without spending a dime, that was his mortgage that I was taking care of. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to correct what had been done. It was too late, though. It was too late. That friend I've lost. As a matter of fact, while I was inside the wonderful little institution, I did get in touch with him once. I wasn't gonna contact any family or anyone while I was inside, because I wasn't gonna put myself through that type of stress. I'm mentioning all of this to you to let you know that this is what I go through. I don't regret a single thing in my life. Not a single day. I'm not going to cry. Thank you, Mary J. Blige. I'm not going to shed a tear. Okay? I am not going to cry. My life is not that bad. I'm sitting here in Puerto Rico, and I don't have a worry in the world. You know what I've been worried about for the last 5 days, the last 7 days, the last 8 months, the last 2.5 years, the last 5 years? I've been worried about all of you. You see, I know what's coming. I see what's coming for this stupid planet. I know what they're getting ready to do, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that a lot of you are going to get caught right in the middle of what they're getting ready to do. And I'm not going to go into detail explaining it to you because I can't. Because the same as I prayed to my God and asked him and begged him to help me understand the secrets of their stupid system, well, I asked him, please don't let me be surprised. After my best friend Kevin died, I begged him not to let me be surprised by anything. And what did he do? He allowed me to know things before they happen. And I truly appreciate him for that. Oh, by the way, I'm standing outside, and there's a rain shower passing by. And so I got just a little bit of protection from it, but it ain't gonna be a lot of protection because of the way the wind is blowing. But I'm okay, because I'm in Puerto Rico, and I can sit up here and say that I'm standing outside in the rain. Orange Juice Jones, yeah, now talk. Anyway, my people, I'm doing this to let you know that I'm gonna be okay. I've been through way more than regular people. I've had my good days, I've had my bad days, I have died, I've had guns pointed at me, I have been in pain, I have been in accidents where I should not have survived. I've been hit pretty much head on, not wearing a seatbelt, suffering a minor heart attack, and yet walked out of the car. After suffering a minor heart attack, I'm walking and acting like nothing's wrong, as if nothing even happened to me. They had to take me to the hospital because of, not precaution, they had to take me to the hospital because it was necessary, because of the extent of the accident. You know, the idiot who hit me, yeah, I hope that he got everything that was coming to him, because he was not only drunk, but he was doing 65 miles an hour on a city street. Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen. Los Angeles. Now, why am I telling all of you all of this? Because I want you to get to know the man that so many of you have been listening to and so many of you have been talking about you appreciate. You must understand, the one thing I care about more than my God is people. Literally. I care. That's why I'm doing what I do. That's why you guys are not paying me for nothing. You don't see me asking for money? Well, yeah, technically I was forced to, because my people said, hey, you need this, you need that, so that's the way it is. But you don't see me asking anybody for money. Why? Well, why don't you write a money order? Because I keep trying to tell you, in order for me to write a money order, I'm walking in the rain now because it's just too much. And so I gotta go inside because everything's gonna be wet. I'm gonna be soaked by the time I get in here. So I'm about to go inside and say that's the way it is. Well, anyway, as the way things are, and I'm inside now, so I'm not going to talk as loud, but as the way things are, I say all of this so that most of you can get to understand, because most people, that's the problem. They don't understand. They don't get it. They don't comprehend. They think they understand. They think they know what a person has gone through. They think they understand what a person has gone through. And they don't understand anything. You can't. And they're going to be people who, after they listen to this, they're going to say, see, man, I know exactly what I've been through this and I've been through this. Has nothing to do with your experiences. You cannot relate to what I've been through. And the fact that you think that you can means that you don't understand. There is no way on the planet you could relate to what I've been through. Yeah, I know you may have lost your mother, your brother, your sister, uncle, cousin, your best friend, but it's not the exact same thing. Do you know why? Exactly. Because you even have to ask the question, that means you don't understand. You see, I didn't understand at first either. I had people who had lost friends, and I thought I could speak to them. I thought I could help them. I thought I could offer them some comfort. You don't understand. But I understand. That's why when somebody loses a friend, hey, I understand. And I don't try to tell them it's going to be better. As a matter of fact, Jehovah's Witnesses have put out a booklet. It's actually called a brochure, when somebody you love dies. And they encourage people not to tell somebody it's going to be alright. They encourage them not to say that. Well, first of all, it ain't going to be alright. It hasn't been alright since he died. It has not. And I've lost other people. Okay? It took me 3 years after my father died to cry. 3 years. But that one? 3 straight weeks. And it didn't stop. For 3 straight weeks, I couldn't tell you why I was crying. All I know, it was happening all day, every day, and I couldn't stop it. Some of it today I would probably have been embarrassed about, but not at that time. It was not an embarrassment. I couldn't stop it. So everybody assumed there was more to it than what it really was. And they have no idea how much I hated them for assuming such stupidity. Ladies, gentlemen, before Katrina happened, I knew, not that event, but that something was going to happen. Before 9/11, I knew. As a matter of fact, I told all my friends that what's about to happen will change everything. Nothing will be the same from this day forward. When it happens, nothing will be the same. Now, can anybody tell me since 9/11 that everything is the same on this planet throughout the entire world? Or has it not changed? Before the incident in Indonesia, where the 278,000 people died in 7 minutes, I told people, I wrote it down. So what's happening in the background right now, I told you I was going to put on some music. I didn't put on music. I put on the, let me see, let me see if I can give you the title to it that I put on here so you can better understand. The Choosing and Staying Awake, A Time to Remember. I wrote everything down. Before it occurred, I wrote it down so that nobody could say that I wrote it down afterwards. You see, that's the unique thing. When people try to write things down after the fact, they make mistakes. It's because their mind doesn't know how to go back to prior to the fact. They only remember the way their mind remembers. It takes a very unique person who can go back and write something in the past to where it deals strictly with the past without one smidget of the future that's already occurred after the events that he writes about. And so I wrote it down, and then I put it on audio. On CD first. Well, no, first cassette. Because back then, CDs were out, and I was using CDs all the time. But cassettes, most of my things were cassettes. Even the car stereo was cassette. I think it was my best friend Tori who later that year would work at Best Buy and get me a CD player. Well, an MP3 CD player. He would actually purchase it for me and install it in my car. Very good man, very good friend. But I put it on disc and CD so that in the future, such as now, I could tell people I knew about it before it happened. And so I'm listening to that in the background, which is part of the reason for this conversation. And yes, I'm going to put this up on the internet because I want to give you guys a better understanding. Now, let's talk about some other things, because I wanted to give you a better understanding of who I am. And I am the person I am as a result of what I've been through. Have I given up? No, I'm far from giving up. I refuse to give up. You see, that's the unique thing about me. I don't give up. That's why I can be in the situation I'm in. I could be in that situation I was just in, and I can go through all of this because I don't give up. I refuse. But I still have to go through stupidity. And I'm okay with that. What's going to happen is there is this information that, and I say this, not this, but this information in particular that you all are receiving from me regarding the infant estate, regarding the securities that are documented and evidenced by your assignment of a securities number account. You have a numbered account identifying your securities, with your trust fund being taken care of through the Social Security Administration. That equity court is the way to go. You see, there were people talking about this in the past, but no one person was talking about all of it. And you want to know something? This is what I want you all to understand. I wasn't getting my research from anyone else. The stuff that you hear me talking about, I didn't get this from anyone else. I got this from, let's just say, I asked my God specifically for this information, and He, in His own way, gave me what I asked Him for. And I'm very grateful. You see, if you didn't get it, my God's name is Jehovah. No, that's not His name. And I don't care what you say your God's name is. Let me say it again so you understand. My God's name is Jehovah. Because He's my God. I don't care about your God. You hold on to Him. You draw close to Him. But as for me, as Joshua would say, and my family, we will draw close to Jehovah. Jehovah, as I say, is the only God who named Himself. Some people want to call Him by His Hebrew name. I don't speak Hebrew, people. I don't speak Spanish. So I call Him Jehovah. The J with the G sound. Why? Because that's the pronunciation of the name. Like Jehu, or Jehoshaphat, or Joshua. Okay, do you understand? That's how we know how his name was pronounced, because you had people using the name Jah as part of their name. Elijah. Okay? So please stop with this. We don't know how his name was pronounced. Yes, we do, because we have the names of the other individuals that are still pronounced the way they were pronounced in ancient times. And by the way, the God that I serve hasn't stepped up and said, nope, that's not the way to pronounce my name. And for those people who don't use the name, sorry. Even the King James Version left the name in 4 times, and then 2 other times with Jehovah Nissi and Jehovah Nissi and Jehovah Jireh. Okay? So, even they left it in that Bible, and you know, King James, man, to change 600 scriptures. But what you guys don't understand, he changed more than 600 scriptures. He took God's name out of the Bible, which was in there originally 7,000 times. He changed 7,600 scriptures. Do you guys understand how devastating that book is? That he made additions and changes. And to this day, people think that that's the so-called Holy Bible. There's nothing holy about that book. I know I'm going to have the naysayers, and I don't care. It is a historical fact that they took his name out of the Bible 7,000 times. If you don't believe me, go get the William Tyndale version of the Bible, or come here to Puerto Rico and get one of their Spanish version of the Bible and see the name Jehovah throughout that book. Completely floored me when I came here. I'm like, wait a minute, you guys use his name? I said, yeah. I said, no, you don't understand. In the States, they don't use his name. But here, they use the name Jehovah all the time. They say Jehovah in song, in prayer. Gloria a Dios. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the arguments that you have there in the United States, you guys have those arguments, but the rest of the world is not having the same arguments. You will not be able to come here to Puerto Rico and say that God's name is not Jehovah. And they didn't have Jehovah's Witnesses putting that in their Bibles, because these are Bibles written by Catholic organizations. Okay? So, when I say Jehovah is my God, please understand that I've been saying that all my life. Since I was 3 years old, and I told you about the story. My earliest memory, the one that he allowed me to hold on to, because I don't remember much about my past at all. I don't remember a single day of my past. I remember main events, such as my best friend dying, me being in a hospital, but I don't remember all the details. And I'm glad. I'm glad, because that keeps me from going through a lot of pain. The thing was, I came down the stairs in my project apartment, and I'm crying. I'm 3 years old. And my father says, come here. What's wrong? And I'm crying, and they keep picking on me. And he says, him and my mother go, and they put their arm around me. And my father said, you know, if you had Jehovah as your friend, nobody would pick on you. I said, really? Who's that? And he says, who's Jehovah? He's the most powerful person in the universe. Really? He said, yes. I said, well, that's who I want as my friend, because then nobody will pick on me. I know, I didn't say pick on me, I say mess with me. Yeah, see, in my house we use the word, you better stop messing with me. You know, you don't want to mess with. You don't want to mess with the Joneses. As you heard them say, don't mess with Bill. You see, that was the word we used in the hood. So, I said, then that way no one will mess with me. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had Jehovah as a friend since I was 3 years old. Because my parents not only showed me how to write his name, but they taught me how to talk to him. You know that? You guys don't understand, do you? All of these videos, all of this time, my going into that facility, this is not a fluke. He allowed me to do this because of how much I care. That he allowed me to do this. But as I told all of you, I have another obligation. and I'm gonna go fulfill my obligation to him. I am sorry for what's about to happen. I can tell all of you what's about to happen. As a matter of fact, I knew about it before it occurred. It's already occurred. It already started. And there's nothing anybody can do to stop it. He's going to allow it. There's a reason for why he's allowing it. And even if I were to tell you now, even if I was to shout it from the mountaintop, none of you would listen. And there would be nothing any of you could do to correct it. And none of you would change. So I've been able just to keep my mouth shut. All I can tell you is it's coming and you need to prepare yourselves. What can you do to prepare yourselves? I can't tell you. Sorry, I know what you need to do, but this is not the time for such information to be brought out. And yes, it's already started. When I was inside, I didn't know that the stories were already being talked about, so when I got out, the first thing I did is went on the internet and started doing the research. And still to this day, even a story, I can't tell you the day, but I can tell you it was very recent that I just saw the story, and the story is exactly what I just mentioned. The event has already happened, and they're covering it up on purpose. They're not giving the details about it. But again, even if you knew, there's nothing you can do. I can tell you this. We all knew that they were going after killing billions of people. To better control man, to better control the economy. They're getting ready to try to do the whole New World Order thing and redo the world and reset up where they're going to have industrialized cities and theme parks and vacation resorts and all this stuff. They have a lot of other things in mind. You guys heard about the seed vaults and all of that? Well, I can't go into too much detail. All I can tell you is that a lot of what you heard, you'll actually witness. What can you do about it? Some people are going to go get guns. Stupido. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not something where a gun is going to save you. Sorry. This is not that type of party. What they're about to do, and they don't care. They don't care. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't care. They don't care who dies. They don't care how many people die. Well, I already told you what they're doing with the military. That's part of the plan. And I'm not going to mention it now because, again, I don't want to give too much information because he hasn't given me permission. I was only allowed to tell the people that I asked him that I could tell. And all of them, sorry, nobody really believed it. These were the people that I cared the most about that he allowed me to... Well, no, one person believed it. Yeah, she was the young lady who, after my best friend died, I met her family. And right after I met them, this was like about 5 months after he died, I met that family. And look, when I meet people, the first thing they do, they invite me to dinner. I don't know why, but it happens a lot. And so I go over to the house and I have dinner with them, and that woman to this day has treated me better than my own mother. She's treated me more like I was her son than any other person I've ever been around. She cooked like my mother, but she cried, you all, because she thought they had killed me. Because I told her years before that I was going to end up in jail. I told her it was going to be for something that I didn't do. And I told her don't worry about it because it's going to be alright. I won't be in there long. But because she didn't hear from me, she thought they killed me. And she cried when I contacted her. Okay? That's how much that young lady cares about me. She was in Louisiana and they didn't have a car. And I literally drove from California to Florida. And I was going to give the minivan to it was a used minivan. I just redid had the transmission redone. I was going to give it to my son's mother so she could have transportation for her and her family. And she ended up doing something stupid. And I told her that if she did it, that I would not give her the van. and she did it anyway. She didn't let me see my son. So I turned the van around, drove it all the way back to Louisiana, and I gave it to that young lady and her husband. They were older. At that time, she was probably about 70 years old. No, she wasn't 70. She was probably about 67, 66. And she couldn't help but thank me over and over and over again. And they kept that van for about 3 years. And then Katrina hit. They were in Louisiana and Slidell, right next to the Pontchartrain River. And Katrina hit. The levees blew up. Let's just say water doesn't make something blow up, okay? Well, the levees blew up and the van swept away. They had insurance, so they got paid for the van, which is no problem. But they lost their house. And so they ended up moving in a trailer. Now they're in an apartment. And now they moved to a different apartment because her husband, he has Alzheimer's and dementia. And so he has been devolving. He's literally the mental capacity of a 4-year-old. And she has to take care of him as if he's a 4-year-old. And that man's over 220 pounds, and she's not a very big person herself, but she has to take care of him, and she has very little help taking care of him. He was in the military, and while he was in the military, you would think the military would come to his aid. The military has not been providing a lot, because that's veteran services. You guys know about veteran services. You know how much they care about their own. Well, I was in New York. I ended up getting a settlement on a lawsuit that I filed, and I went and I bought 2 cars. I bought myself a Cadillac Seville SLS. I love that car. When I first bought it, I'm like, I gotta get used to this. But I had that car for about 4 years, and let's just say I put that car through a lot. Okay, but I like that car. I like the air ride, shocks, everything. And I went and bought a Monte Carlo. It was a 1996 Monte Carlo, but nonetheless, I was buying that for a friend. Well, my cousin. And he was a recovering drug addict. So I told him, I said, here, you come to New York, I will get you a car, I'll make sure you get a job, and I'll make sure you're set so you can start over. He came to New York, and on the very first night, whatever was mine was his. So the very first night he took my car, he went and hooked up with people he didn't know, drove them to get high, and then he comes back later that night. And then he tells me what he did. And I let him know, I told you what's mine is yours, and I don't care. I said, you can take my stuff and throw it away tomorrow or blow it up, it doesn't matter. I said, however, you had people I didn't know in my car. That you didn't have my permission to do. I said, you just got here. You haven't even been here 24 hours, and the first thing you do is you go get high. It's okay, it's an addiction, I understand. But when I set him up with an apartment, I'm getting ready to go to New Mexico. He wants to come with me. I said, no, you can't come with me. You'll drive me crazy. I said, but do you not understand? You get to decide what you want to do with your life. Well, the next thing I know, I leave only for a week to go set things up in New Mexico. I come back. He has taken everything out of the apartment that is of value, and he's trashed the place. Now I had to pay somebody to go in there and clean up. $400. And I tell him the car that I was going to leave him, I told him, I'm not getting you that car. I left it at the dealer because I told him I just have to pay $300 more, and the car is yours. I said, so all you got to do is keep your job. I get back, not only does he get fired, he gets fired the day before I leave. Yeah, he tells his boss what he could suck. Apparently, the conversation was going along the same line. And so they told him where he could work, just not there anymore. And so he lost his job, so I told him, then you don't get to keep the car.
I said, that was the deal. I said, all you had to do was wait until I was gone. And you could have did whatever you wanted to. You would have had the car, because he told me, man, that's the car I've always wanted. And I said, well, there it is. I've already paid for it. I just have to go pay $300 or more and then pick it up. I said, but I didn't want to pick it up now. I was going to pick it up when I come back from Mexico. And I drove that car from New York, never having tested it out, never having had a checkup or a tune-up or anything done on it. Drove it from New York to Louisiana, pulled up in her driveway. I had already called her and told her I was on my way. I didn't tell her what I was going to do. I just told her I was leaving New York and coming toward her. And I pulled up, and I handed the keys to her, and I said, here's your car. And she, to this day, she's still thanking me. I think I brought them that car 2008, and she's still thanking me for that car, because she's telling me that it's doing whatever job she needs it to do. The car has been doing the job and hasn't really given her many problems at all. She's had to do tires, tune-ups, spark plugs, that type of thing. But when I first brought the car there, once I drove it from New York to Louisiana, tune-up and changing spark plugs and making sure everything was done to that car so that they wouldn't have any problems. As I tell people, a car is a dime a dozen. You can always get a car. A car is very easy to get. I bought a car in the projects for $75. And it was a legal exchange. Cars are a dime a dozen. So that's why I'm not in a rush to get another one. I've had 78 cars in my lifetime. I don't need any more. This is me letting you guys know what I've been through, who I am. I did this, you can call it a poem, but I did this writing, and it was called, Does Everyone Have a Twin? And I put it up on the internet on one of my what I call publishing sites, where I put up my writings for free. And anybody can go there and look at it and read it, and it's at the bottom of every email that I send people. Well, Tammy Pepperton, she went and she did a video and she reads, Does Everybody Have a Twin? I don't know if she knew that I wrote it, because I'm hearing the way she's talking about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Does Everybody Have a Twin? Is about this, and then I will cut this thing short. What I did with Does Everybody Have a Twin is I was writing about me. At the very end, I even say, Does everybody have a twin? I'll finally see when I become the future me. I say something to that effect. About a month ago, I was walking down the street, and I asked myself a question to which I answered yes. I asked myself if I wanted to be my friend, and I literally accepted my offer. It's a unique experience, to say the least, but I'm glad that I finally am who I knew I was to become. Even doing this right here, this audio, which I will put on video, even putting this together is, let's just say, it's a culmination of exactly what I've been through all of this. So, all of you who are worried about me, yeah, after listening to this video, yeah, we should be worried. Okay, Kramer. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am okay. I am a happy man. Not because of anything, circumstances. I got what I wanted. I found out the secrets of the court. There's nothing anybody can say to me to tell me that what I've been telling you guys, look, you have no idea the amount of stress that I've been under trying to get that information out to you. But I also know by getting that information out to you, it's only going to make them speed things up, because they can't have all of you rushing into the bankruptcy court, coming in as creditors. But I'm going to tell you, you might as well get it out of your system, because some of you will be able to achieve what you've been trying to achieve. See, you want to become a private citizen. You want to gain that status. Why? Because it's the private citizen who has all the rights. Go ahead and ask any police officer. A police officer arrests people under his private capacity. No police officer arrests you under his corporate capacity, under his law enforcement capacity. Go ahead, take a look at the statutes. He cannot. He cannot represent the agency while arresting you, because then the agency is liable for the damages he causes you. That's why he must arrest you as a private citizen, because he is liable. Yeah, I know. This is the system we're in. This is the world we're in. It's not gonna last much longer. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to go through some very difficult times. But you all know that. All of you have heard of the great tribulation that Jesus prophesied in Matthew's 24th chapter. Look, his name is Richard Dimplesfield. Richard Dimplesfield, who died, I believe it's 2005 or 2006, of kidney disease. He did a song, "If It Ain't One Thing, It's Another." You can listen to the song on YouTube. It's simply, "If it ain't one thing, it's another." And at the very end of that song, he, a Jehovah's Witness, explained to people what we're supposed to go through in these so-called last days from the book of Matthew. So we all knew it was coming. Everybody knows something's about to happen. I was watching Superman. Did you see all the destruction at the end of that movie? Did you see all of the destruction, all of the buildings, all the blowing up of stuff, all of the blowing up of cars? Because they don't care about life. You guys really must get this. They don't care about how many of you live and how many of you die. Your lives are not important to them. I'm hoping that you all will understand. Now look, as I told you, I am no longer part of the commission, and so I have about one more video that I'm going to do that will be associated with the Legal Redress Commission, but after that it will be on the new site that I will be giving you the name to tomorrow. I can't tell you the name now because I have to set it up. I have a name that I want to use, but I forgot to set it up today when I was at the college because, you know, they got rid of the logon information. I couldn't use the internet at the law library, and so now I'll have to figure out another way to get to the internet here in Puerto Rico. They've really been causing me problems trying to get on the internet here. And guys, you should have known it, and I should have known it, that they were going to try to prevent me from doing what I was doing before. And they really have been trying. But I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to keep you guys. I just wanted to explain that to you so that you can have a better idea as to who I am. You see, I asked people, who is Jehovah? He's God, he's this, he's that. No, I didn't ask you what he is. I said, who is he? Who is he is the same as saying in Avatar, I see you. Okay? You have to understand who he is, not what he is. Well, see, when I was a kid, when I told you at the age of 3, even at the age of 11, in school, I told people, well, my God, Jehovah, and one of the girls, and I remember her to this day, her name was Hill. She's, what's his name? Hill, Jim Hill. He's former sports, no, he's not the former, he's still the sports reporter on CBS News Los Angeles, KCBS, and his name is Jim Hill. Well, this was his sister, who was at the same school I was in, and she says, he's not just your God, he's everybody's God. No, he's my God. You guys must understand that I'm not playing on words. When I say he's my God, I mean it quite seriously. He has always been my God since the age of 3. He's mine. Is he a possession? No, that's not what I mean by he's my God, which is why I say you won't understand. That's exactly the point. Some of you are saying, no, I understand. And by the fact that you're saying you understand, it means you don't understand. Because you're not supposed to understand it. I'm the only one supposed to understand it. You're supposed to understand your relationship with him. You're not supposed to understand my relationship with him. It's not for you to understand my relationship with him. Ah, so now you're getting it. Now you're understanding that you have to describe your relationship with him, and you can't compare your relationship with mine. There you go. So you see, I'm not that far away or out there after all. But so that you all can get the understanding, we can't be friends. I care about everyone equally. But what I must also understand is that man is selfish. Man only cares about himself. Man only cares about his interests. That's why most of the people who have been contacting me by email in the past, they just wanted to know how this would help them. They weren't trying to help everybody else, which is why the commission receives all of my praise, because they have gone about helping you. And they have a track record. They have testimonials on the website, the redressright.org. Oh, well, excuse me. It's redressright.com. Even though you can type in redressright.org and it'll route you to .com, redressright.com. They have the tutorials, not tutorials, well, they do have tutorials on there, but they also have the testimonials up there where you can actually hear people talking about how they have benefited from the information and how they didn't have to pay for anything. See, that was the thing. Information should always be free. That's why I can't charge you for the information. Alright, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, this was just me giving you a better understanding of what I'm going through currently and who I am currently. Alright, and the stuff about Kevin, that wasn't said for you to come behind me and say I'm about to turn off my remembering thing that I had in the background. That wasn't for you guys to comment on. Okay? You will, if you comment about Kevin, you'll only offend me. That's too sensitive of a subject, and so please stay away from that. Trust me, that's right, especially this time of year. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys don't understand. Let me explain to you. I go through a depression when we're approaching May 10th through May 22nd. You see, no, I'll tell you. I'm going to spend about 10 more minutes talking, and then I'm going to get off of this. Whoa, 72 minutes. Whew, this is going to take a while. He woke up late the next morning. And so his mother and her fiance had just taken and restored a 1962 Volkswagen bus, the little small Volkswagen minivan, that 1964, the Partridge Family. They restored it from bumper to bumper, original everything. And that was going to be his graduation present. And again, he had a scholarship. He played clarinet, and he was that good to where MIT gave him a scholarship. Kevin woke up late and begged his mother to let him drive to school that day. He could drive, but she had not let him drive before. Not that van, not by himself. And they had just restored it. It was running. They just didn't let him drive it. It was a graduation present. Uh-oh. Alright. It says it's still recording, but something isn't right, because it stopped. And I don't see the timer. And the timer should be there. And the timer's not there, so I'm going to keep talking. And my hope is that it is still recording, because I still see the red light, but can't be sure. Well, anyway, he begged her to let him go to school, drive to school. And like any mother, that's her favorite son, her only son, and so she lets him drive to school. Kevin's school was having a strike that year. He went to Washington High School. They were having a strike that year, the teachers. And the principal sent the kids home early. When 10 o'clock came, Kevin is waiting at an intersection. He's got two of his friends in the car with him, and they're going home. They both lived, one was his cousin, who I haven't talked to since, and I'm a little angry with myself that he and I lost contact, because his nickname, no, I won't bring him into this either. If it's supposed to be that we're to talk, he and I will talk, because he was a good man. Well, while they're waiting in the intersection to make a left-hand turn at a T intersection, a car runs the light. The guy hits his van. There were kids walking in the crosswalk. That's why he was waiting at a T intersection to turn, because there were kids in the crosswalk. He missed the kids in the crosswalk and hit the van. The van, Kevin wasn't wearing a seatbelt. That's 1990, so no major seatbelt laws at the time. But he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. And when the van turned over on its side, he came out of the van partially, and it landed on his head. For 25 minutes, he laid underneath that van without any assistance. 25 minutes it took for the emergency workers to get to the scene. Ladies and gentlemen, it took them 25 minutes for the fire department and the sheriff's department and an ambulance to arrive at the scene. Whenever you get a chance, the street is Normandy. You remember Normandy and Florence? Well, this is Normandy and 108th Street. It's where Washington High School is. You will see that there's a fire department right there at that location. And every morning, the sheriffs park right there in that driveway because people run the red light all the time. And because of the kids walking in the crosswalk, the police are always there to catch those people who go through that red light. The sheriff was there. The fire department was there. They were less than 100 yards away, and it took them 25 minutes to get to the scene. They took him not to one hospital. No, they took him to two hospitals. And then they took him to three hospitals, which was technically not three because it was back to the first hospital they took him to. And then they took him to a fourth hospital. Well, because he was 17, they didn't know if he had insurance. All they had to do was open his wallet and see that he had insurance. His father was in the military, so he had insurance. But they didn't do that. And he died 4 minutes after being brought to the fourth hospital. 4 minutes after being brought to the fourth hospital. Now, if he had survived, ladies and gentlemen, he would have probably had brain damage. And I give you my word that I never would have left his side. I would be there. If he was still alive, I'd be right there at this very moment helping him. And I'd never be doing any of this. That I can guarantee you. He would have been my focus, and I would have been there, and I would have taken care of him for the rest of eternity if it needed to be done. I tell you that because it took me a while not to blame myself for bringing him home late after 12 o'clock because he woke up late. If he had not woke up late, he would have taken a bus home. But who knows, he could have been one of the kids walking in the crosswalk, going to the bus stop. That car would have gone through that intersection and hit. Don't know. Or the fact that he had a heart attack about 8 months before and ended up in the hospital the same time I ended up in the hospital, that it could have been a congenital defect in his heart and he probably would have had problems later. I don't know. I'm tired of guessing. I went through the years of guessing. All I know is that forgiving myself for bringing that young man home late, I haven't done that. Not yet. And don't you dare even think about making a comment that I need to do this and I need to do that, because I have fingers that you can sit and rotate on. As a matter of fact, you can actually alternate between them. That's what I say to those of you who want to offer up comments as to whether I should blame myself or not blame myself. That's not your place. You don't get to even suggest it. It has nothing to do with you. I hope you understand. So now that you all have a better idea and understanding of who I am, what I've been through, and why none of the stuff that I've been through the last couple of years, trying to help all of you, trying to get this information out to you, it hasn't corrected anything. Things are still exactly the way they were when I started trying to help people. Exactly the same. Some people are listening, some people are getting it, but most of the people are telling me when I'm talking to them, man, they say I sound like I'm a rocket scientist speaking to a group of elementary or preschoolers or 2-year-olds. They say that I'm sounding like I'm so far beyond everybody. People, I'm not beyond any of you. As I said, I should be on an operating table and on a hospital bed for the rest of my life as a vegetable. I'm not beyond any of you. All of you should be far beyond me. You should be so far ahead of me that I should be drooling and trying to figure out why I can't remember any of the stuff and why I can't understand any of the stuff you're talking about. So when I say I do understand that there are some unique things, I've known it. My mother even told me the same thing. She told me she knew there was something different about me. I am the only one in my family who acts, talks, and thinks the way that I do. The only one. And when you meet the rest of my family members, you'll say, yes, he looks like him, but there's no way in the world he could be their brother. They don't even talk like him. Everybody says I have an accent. I get people telling me I have an accent, and they have no idea how much I see that they have an accent. So, I take the time to do this, and everybody thinks that I am probably just talking on the phone, but I'm here talking into a microphone with a headset in my ear, and I may do it more often. But this one, yeah, this one is for you guys. I put this together specifically for you guys. My hope is that it's still recording. Alright, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, you got a peek at my life. If you really want to understand why I'm doing this, there is a play that I wrote. It's called One Man's Pain. It's about a gentleman named Paul Collins. Needless to say, that character is actually me. The situation, the pain that he experiences, that's me as well. It's just the events that happen are not me. But the experience and what he goes through and the conversations he has with the audience, that's me. Same thing that I'm doing here is what he does in his story. That's what I do. I write stories. And that's what my news site will eventually do, is it will give everybody a chance, because I've written over 100, and about 35 of them I completed, but the other 79 to 86 I purposely didn't complete, because I'm going to let the people help me complete it, and then we're going to take and we're going to do the animation of many of them. Or we're going to let the people help do the episodes so that we can market them to different production companies. Why? Because I figure it's time that when we do movies, when we do scripts, that they are somewhat believable, or that they are not so cheesy. Man, that's what they did in such and such, such and such. Man, come on, my mother knew he was going to do that. You see, I don't want to do anything that's predictable. And none of my stories, I don't write them in succession. None of them sound the same. Many of them come from dreams, so I start out with what I saw in the dream and I just fill in the blanks around it. I got this one called Hybrid that I'm very impressed with. Very impressed with. But that's another story. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, look at that. You see the pun? That's another story. Alright, well now you have the rest of the story. Thank you for allowing me to have the time to share these things with all of you today. And my hope is that my contribution will not go unappreciated. Have a very good evening. Have a very good night. May you all have a very good life. And yes, I do hope, and it is my sincere hope, that all of you will survive what's coming. It really is my hope that all of you will survive. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is Redress. using the name Redress for the last time in this video and the next. But after the 18th of April 2015, you will not be calling me Redress anymore, and I will not be answering to Redress. I will not be utilizing the Redress UCC email anymore. Okay? There'll be a completely different email, and a completely different name, and a completely different personality. Alright? Take care of yourselves, everyone.